Okay, hey, we should be live here, guys. Should be live now. Okay, can see and hear. Okay, yeah, tell me on the volume. I am coming to you from my laptop, literally. No equipment, nothing. So and I can't see myself on the video. So when Teri joins me here in a second, let me know that if you can see us, if we even fit in the frame, because I can't see us. Because the latest upgrade of Mac won't show me on the Flash media encoder thing that we use with Justin TV. I just can't see myself. So if you could, help me out with volume and video as well. And we are, you know what? We're a minute past, so I'm going to start us. It's going to be a very, very informal gathering here. Make sure my audio is good on here. I think it is. Okay, hey, I'm just going to start us off. You guys ready? Guys and gals? Hold on here. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Free Agent Academy class for Wednesday, May 15th that I am opening up to audit to our public audience as well. So this is the Free Agent Underground show as well. You get to listen in today. It's Wednesday, May 15th, 2013. I'm coming to you from the patio at a condo. We are at the beach. You know what? For those of you who are with me, you know what? I'm not going to turn it around because then I'm afraid I won't get myself back in the frame and I can't see myself on video right now. But I am at the beach right now as we look out here with my wife. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary, and so I thought I would take the occasion to talk to everyone, but I posed some questions to our members just talking about marriage, how to get your spouse's support, or at least give you the best opportunity for getting your spouse's support. And for those of you who your spouse may already be in support, still some tips to help the unity to come together a little bit more. So we're going to sit and just have a conversation with you guys, talk about some primary topics that we've experienced in our own marriage and that we see in couples and lots of other couples through Free Agent Academy and elsewhere who are pursuing free agency either together or one of them. Often it's one and the other may be not understanding, may be reticent, maybe downright mad and defiant about it. Who knows? But we're just going to talk about some of the aspects there today. Now, this is a members class, and here's my bride. Say hi.
Oh wow, hi.
Yeah, we can't see each other.
No video, nothing.
I know. I can't.
Okay.
It's a laptop. What do you? It's all we got.
Whatever.
Okay. Hey, so guys, first off, tell me, are we keying here? Are we both in the camera?
Can you see the wet, freshly showered hair?
Yeah, we ran up from the beach about 30 minutes ago. She said, "Oh my gosh, what time is that?" So I assume that you can see her. Well, hey, so this is my wife, Teri. Yep, we've been married 20 years, of which all but 2 I've been self-employed.
Oh.
Yeah, I did have that one real job once for 2 years. We have been self-employed, and we've been through the worst of it and experienced some of the best of it, with more better still to come. Mo better. So I wanted to talk about a few of the key things that we see, the things that cause strife, that cause struggle, that cause separation and lack of unity in marriages when one of you specifically is pursuing self-employment, which is really just a way of saying it's pursuing something that might feel riskier, that might feel less secure than what we are all used to. Now, of course, we talk about that a lot, and I'm not going to go into it real deep right now. You know, what is more secure? Is it having a job that you can lose all your eggs in one basket? We can have that debate, but we all understand that generally we view the culture as traditional employment is secure. So when you veer from that, especially when your spouse is not on board, it can be difficult. So we're just going to run through some key topics. I do have a couple questions asked by members that we'll talk about. And so I've got you guys who are with us live in the chat room, in the members chat room, and in the public. I've got you guys up, so I'll be looking at what you guys have to say as well. So, to start off with, I wanted to hit, and you kind of mentioned it a minute ago, Teri, where often when people talk about spouse issues with their spouse and pursuing free agency, I'll say, have you ever sat down and just looked at the vision of life together. Because obviously nobody is pursuing self-employment just because they thought, that might be a fun adventure to do just for the heck of it. We're all doing it because of something that we want, a lifestyle that we want, or we want out of the heartbreak of work and the constraints of it, the stress of it, or we may just be so dying to pursue something that our heart is passionate about. Either way, we're doing it for a certain reason, and when one person goes after that and they start talking about questions or struggles with their spouse, I often come back and say, have you ever sat down and talked about core values and vision, which is a course we have, a group that we have in Free Agent Academy to talk about that. Often they have not. And so you mentioned that a little bit too. What's the vision of this? What's the purpose of this? So one, I think, is what is the vision for our lives that we care about? What are the values, the convictions, the things that we feel are best for us, for our family, if you have children? First off, where are we going? Where do we want to be in 3 years? Who? I like that question better. Who do we want to be in 3 years? And what lifestyle, what decisions are going to help get us to that point is one. But then you also brought up just, okay, if we're doing this, kind of like that, nobody's going after self-employment just because it might be fun. There's some reason, and if we're going to go after that, what is the reason?
Yeah. Well, because I think it's not, the idea of self-employment is not that this is your get-rich-quick card. This isn't going to be your, I'm going to achieve fantasy lifestyle 2 years after I become self-employed. It's just trading one lifestyle for another. And so you have to make sure that that's what fits you, because it's not all bliss. I mean, anything that you're going to do is hard work, and there's the sacrifices to pursue your convictions. And so this isn't, I just think so much of what the world pitches is, self-employment means you can be a beach bum. Yeah, that you can just be free and easy and get rich quick. And that is just a myth. That is not true. But I think that you have to constantly be in conversation about why is the payoff worth it? Because there's lots of things in self-employment that are hard. You could see, as the wife, you could say, well, that's harder. I don't want that. I want you to be able to leave your work, 9-to-5 job, and you leave it and you be done with it. But then the trade-off, you have to constantly talk about what is the trade-off. So the person who has that 9-to-5 job, they don't have freedom in that 9-to-5. And like I've used the example with Kevin about when Serene broke her arm twice last year. She broke it, and about 5 weeks later broke it in the same place again. And there was nothing in the middle of Kevin's day that was more important than the fact that our little 3-year-old had broken her arm. And so I was able to come to him, I think it was in the middle of a class, and say, interruption, we have to go to the ER.
No, both times I had to cut a class short.
Did you? Okay.
It was literally both times, yeah.
And so most of my friends whose husbands have 9-to-5 jobs, and sure, maybe they get to just leave their work at the end of the day, they don't have the freedom in the middle of the day. And so just that, I think, like for us, that's important. And so I think whatever it is for you that's important, you have to constantly be talking about and reminding yourselves about what is that payoff, because there are sacrifices on the other end that can get you down. And it's like that thing of saying I love you once at the altar and that's good enough. No, you have to remind each other and be in conversation about it constantly. What is it? Why are we doing this again? Why is the payoff good?
And now one part of this too, obviously you're hearing it come from our standpoint. So we're sitting here, I'm the one who works for pay, at least. Teri works plenty hard with our 7 children, but not for pay. And so you're hearing it from that standpoint. So I'm the self-employed. Now I know that some of you who are listening, and we have a lot of members where it is the wife who is the one pursuing self-employed employment. We have some rock star free agent women whose husbands, some of them work. We have some who are stay-at-home dads. But you're going to hear this come from our standpoint. One other thing that is a part of this, when we look at it, we talk about it as being optional. Obviously, I am fairly radical in my self-employment stance, to say it lightly. But there is the reality with me that I don't know what your standpoint is, but I don't know how I could function employed. I would have a hard time, I think.
It's a problem with authority.
I do, and so but it's a relevant thing to look and go, this is no different than if I had a handicap and said, okay, I've got to go out in the workforce, but I am in a wheelchair. It's going to limit some of the things I can do. Like Dave Munson, our friends Dave and Suzette Munson of Saddleback Leather, he talks about that he wrote a blog for us once called Psychologically Unemployable. But he had been through like 20 jobs because he has some authority issues. He's really out of the box. He couldn't keep a job. If he didn't quit anyways. And so there is that piece, and that's going to fit some people. It's not like for everybody, I think, that they sit back and go, well, I could go one way or the other. Let's weigh the pros and the cons. For us, it was a lot more dire in that I can't hardly stand life, and that was difficult. It's not an excuse or a cop-out, but again, it's just part of what I think integrates in there. You talked about, we can't be a beach bum. Here we are on a week vacation that we've never, ever done.
20 years.
20 years.
This is our first getaway.
But the thing that's so important to us that we looked at, especially looking at our life values and our big family, is that I feel like I take a lot of vacations. A given day, a given half day, a couple days, whatever that happens, where we just use the flexibility.
I don't feel that way, but
well, not vacations, time, but time that I'm not working, where everybody else is 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and we have something happen, whether it's a tragedy or whether it's, we got
like a little school program or something.
A school program or family in town, or we just need to take care of life that a lot of people have a hard time doing on weekends and stuffed in. And so we take a day to do things that are just life that I have the availability to do. That is really difficult. We had a time when we were especially hurting financially and talked about, would it be worth it to go down the pass? We live up in the mountains, to go down to Colorado Springs, 30, 45-minute commute, get a job that paid well, but be gone. And Teri's response was, well, maybe just for a little while, but not very long.
Yeah.
Because of what that would do to our family that doesn't line up. So again, looking at that big vision standpoint, and I remember, Teri, and I don't remember the details of it, but us sitting back, and it was kind of that $10 million question. If money was not an issue, it was in the bank. Where do we want to be? Who do we want to be years down the road? And looking at that.
Okay, I think that's a really big issue. For getting your spouse on board or whatever, however you phrased the premise. I think it's a big issue to talk about. The spouse that's the breadwinner in our culture is going to be the priority. And that, you can argue till you're blue in the face, but it's just true. That spouse's agenda, schedule, everything becomes the priority. And so the lesser spouse, the one that is not the priority because they're not the breadwinner, this is the big thing. I think
a lesser spouse. You can't say that.
Okay, whatever. Priority. It feels like that sometimes. Okay, so sometimes wives, we feel that way because our agenda, our passions, hopes, dreams feel lesser because we're not earning money for those. And that's what we're going to get to later, once things are secure. Okay, so feeling that spouses that feel that kind of like that I just expressed, that's the elephant in the room but what about my visions? What about my dreams? So I think that's another important thing that you have to talk about constantly so that it doesn't feel like unfair, so that it doesn't feel like, okay, you're the money earner, so you're the only one who gets to pursue your visions and dreams. You're the only one who gets to, pursue your calling and your glory. And so this is something that it didn't come easy for us because I think a lot of times for the spouse that's not the breadwinner, we can sometimes spend years. I mean, for me, I spent years feeling like my job is to be submissive, to be supportive, and what I want really doesn't matter. And I just think, again, that's a myth. It is going to bring you to a dead-end path of frustration and unhappiness and resentment where there's a wall between you. And so I think that's another thing. If I could give a gift to people of things that we have screwed up, it would be to talk about that from the beginning. And I remember our small group in Tennessee. I remember the girl saying to me one time, like when we were all together, the girl saying, "But Teri, what do you want?" And I'm like, "Oh, I want a cycling team just like Kevin." And I had no idea who I was apart from Kevin's passions and dreams, apart from his calling. Yeah. And so for us to begin to talk about that and try to dig into that, what's my calling? What are my passions? What are my dreams? And we're just getting into that 20 years into it. And some of that is my own wounding and whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
we could
our
go
own
into
crap,
a whole
but
marriage seminar here. But
that's important. That is important to acknowledge the non-breadwinner spouse. What do you care about?
Right.
And to begin to put baby steps in place to where you can do something about it.
Oh, and so some of this is saying this is what we've experienced and are experiencing. Like I often say, especially to our members, that I like to call myself a guide, not a leader, because I'm on the journey as well. And so some of these things, are things that we have not done well. Some of them we have done well. Some of them we've overcome. Some of them we are still figuring out. So, but yeah, vision, and I have that written down. Vision together. What is your together vision for each other, for your hopes and dreams, for where you want to be when you're old, for what you want with your kids? I mean, what are you here for? Are you just putting in your time, or what are the core values and beliefs? Which again is a topic that we focus on in Free Agent Academy. So they're starting there before you start, coming over here in an isolated or a one-sided thing and saying, "Oh, well, I want to do this for work."
I think a red flag would be if you're listening to this and saying, oh, that's all good and fine, but I have no idea what my non-breadwinner spouse's cares are. If you are currently in a marriage or relationship where your spouse wants a fat paycheck so that they can go to the Galleria Mall every day and go shopping, this is not going to help you. You need to go to marriage counseling because you've got to be able to come together. If you can't even have those conversations, if you think that the only thing your spouse wants from you is a paycheck, this isn't going to work. Because
that's happened a lot of times where I'll never forget. It was a guy many years ago, probably 15 years ago, that I did what I do and started looking at what do you want to do, what makes you come alive, what inspires you, what do you care about. And he started talking about this. He had a big corporate job in Nashville, Tennessee, made great money, and a couple $100,000 a year. And he started coming alive with this and went to his wife. And bottom line, what it came down to, they had spent so many years with him at the job, making money. That's really all she cared about. She did not care for his heart.
Because they didn't have relationship.
She didn't care for his heart because he had not cared for hers for this long too. And at that point, there was a lot more going on. This guy did not need to pursue self-employment right now. He needed to pursue his marriage.
Yes.
And then through that, possibly go after self-employment. So we see that a lot. So this brings up a lot of issues that, again, we're saying if you don't address them, they're going to bite you in the butt. And this is one of the primary things that derails people pursuing free agency is marital problems in this. So we're not going to go down and say, it's only going to come as a result of deep marriage counseling. I don't know where you're at. We have couples in free. Matter of fact, we had a couple last week join Free Agent Academy together. We give half off for a spouse rate, and they join together. They're pursuing this together, and we see that more and more. But a lot of times when it's just one person, we have to hit this, and because these issues are going to come up. So that was my next point too. Yeah, is caring for the other's heart, which we've kind of covered in this. And if you're here pursuing it and you don't have your spouse's support, they may not give a crap because you haven't as well. And you got to start a path to communication here.
Because like the idea that, I'm going to, I'm so unhappy in my life, I'm unhappy in my job and my work and whatever, and so I'm going to just take this radical turn and it's going to save my life and save my marriage, and that's not going to happen. Self-employment will not save your marriage because it's going to suddenly thrust you into an extreme need for connection and togetherness. And if you don't have the ability to have connection, if you don't have the ability to have vulnerability to dig into your stuff and your woundings, and then you're not really going to be connected. It's not going to work.
You so don't beat around the bush. So we have some friends right now, literal friends, and he's been working a job in a big Fortune 500, I think it's like Fortune 50 company for a lot of years. And what?
What does that mean? I don't know. Okay, go on.
They know. Okay. And it's killing him. It's killing him to the point, literally, of physical issues. And his wife's statement was, "You are a shell of the man that I married." Emotionally, and his inspiration. Guy's got such a heart for his family, and yet that's the feeling there. So in that, if you are in some job that is so detrimental to you, I mean, my feeling is you're providing money. That's it. That is not, whoever's the provider financially, that's just one piece of it. My job as a spouse, as the breadwinner, as you say, yeah, do I make money? Sure, but is that all I provide? As a husband, as a father, and if work is killing you, then your family's getting robbed of the wholeness of you. But again, to go at it without spouse support, without talking about this, we have seen very few instances of it working, and that was a killer for us because I did get support. I thought it's because I'm a persuader, and I know in later years, and it was upsetting for both of us to realize, no, you had said yes because you thought you had to, you thought you needed to, you thought that was your role, but you were not with me, and so I got her support. Is what I would tell people. It's really what I believe. But now we go back and realize, no, I sold her on that. And I think I put in the email today something about defying. I mean, I don't think I ever did anything defiantly.
One thing, but yeah.
Did I?
Alone, I was totally against it.
Okay, so I did one thing actually defiantly. The rest of it I just persuaded and pushed and got her okay, but it wasn't really an okay. That, for those of you who are like me, which not everybody is at all, but that's another way. Just getting your spouse's support.
Did I just put our dirty laundry out there?
Our dirty laundry is always out there. We're as private as a hand grenade. So we're talking real support. Really, if I had gone back and said, "No, what do you really think?" and cared about it, and the truth is, I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear a differing opinion. Again, I'm just sharing. Again, not everybody's story is the same. And the stuff that we're saying is what we've experienced with us and with others, and it's not 100% perfection and wisdom for you, but take it for what it's worth and discern it. But we see a lot of the same tendencies. So a couple things specifically that Teri really is the one that brought to my attention and we have seen played out that really feed into getting your spouse's support. We talked about the first one, which is just visioning together. And caring for each other to begin with, and having a plan that this has a piece of, that this is relevant to. I mean, because again, when we came down and said this is who we wanted to be, this is what we want to be, who we want to be, how we want to be, and we said, how can we do that if I'm attached to a 9-to-5 job? And we agreed on that. Doesn't mean everything was great, like Teri's saying, but we agreed that that's not going to. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to be best long term. So that first. The next thing though is having a plan, which I never did. For the most part, have a plan, and that was always I always shoot from the hip. I still have that tendency to do that, and that caused great anxiety. And we found out if you make a plan. We recently last week had James Woosley on the show. He's the professor of our roadmap group, where people make simple strategic business plans. It doesn't have to be a novel again, but having a couple pages where you've thought through this. How is this going to work? Where's the marketplace demand? How are you going to fulfill that? What are the numbers? Let's run the numbers. How many people that we know that had an idea that was great, it sounds like, but once you finally run the numbers, which probably happens after they already started and invested a lot and realized this doesn't work. Maybe not the idea at large, but the way that they looked at it, because they had never just written it down to go, okay, how does this pan out? How does this plan out? And I never did it until we finally got somebody to help me do that.
Did you ever really do it?
I was never really that good at it. No, it's still a problem.
Okay. Oh yeah, I'm sitting here thinking I totally need to hire you, James, for my mommy sabbatical thing. Because I have it's not a new idea. It's been long in coming, and finally I'm doing something about it. The baby is 3. I have an opportunity. It's almost like that thing of being on the journey. I'm just now stepping into a new season of life where I'm going to be a free agent. I'm going to be self-employed. Yeah. And so I'm building something. And that I need to hire James. I need to get James's help to do that for Mommy's sabbatical, to find out, does it make sense? Is this viable? Am I good to shoot for Mother's Day 2014? All these details that you're out there and you're listening and you have the same thing. You're like, oh yeah, I'm just launching this thing. That's so important. Kevin doesn't want me to launch this thing and make all these reservations and risk $10,000 on something that if we really just sat down and made a plan, we'd find out is going to be a complete flop. What if that's horrible timing? I don't know. I haven't I haven't done the planning, and I need to do that.
So that, again, yeah, this is speaking where I haven't practiced what I preach. Now, obviously, we already have a business and we've had one for a long time, but when you're starting from scratch, especially, and you just have a wild idea, that's, again, a big point of Free Agent Academy, to take it and to make out a plan. How does this work? Where is the need for this? Where is the opportunity? And to write it down and to come to your spouse and say, one, and this is the first point of this, is that I have a plan. I've gone through, I've done some research. This is what I'm seeing. And to put something out so that they know that, one, you've thought through it. Two, they can see some viability, hopefully. Or they may also be able to look at it and go, gosh, if that's your first source of feedback, which is point number 2, or number 3 here, they may look at it and go, as Teri has often done, and go, how does that, I don't see how that adds up. And maybe add something into that, or I get the opportunity either way to talk and to come together.
Yeah.
Now, the third point of that is to get feedback on it. And you told me this a long time ago, back when I did get counsel with Chuck quite a while ago, to have a plan and to have somebody who's looked at it, to get review. And I think that that's what we see when people get some type of coaching, they get some kind of personal guidance, that they can show their spouse, say, hey, here's a plan, and I've had it looked at. We've refined this. I've had other people who know the score, who are experts in this area, look at it and say it's viable. I mean, that is a huge source of security as opposed to what I generally did, which is just shooting from the hip.
Mm-hmm.
So having a plan and having counsel is big. This is a piece that's just self-employment at large, but specifically we experienced. And I didn't intend for this on this time here to go through our whole story, but I did the worst. I was the chiefest of sinners with self-employment. I was the guy who gave it a bad name. And my first big self-employment endeavor after we were married, I did everything wrong, and it was going out big. I got an office. Mm-hmm. I got letterhead
business card,
how many
trifold brochures, glossy.
Spent $20,000 of another guy's money,
and most of it we burned up in a bonfire about 4 years ago.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, and I spent somebody else's money, and then I spent our credit card cash advances. Yeah, you can't get any worse than that. And that went into all those things. Where now I would have gone, are you kidding me? An office, go, find a spot in the bedroom, do it on the side while you're making some money somewhere, and don't make those big expenses. And I still see so many people look at it. That's where you get counsel and look at different phases of it and generally start small. Again, guys, this is small business. This is really micro business, because a lot of small business definitions are 100 employees or less, or so many $1 million or so. And I'm talking micro business, solopreneur, starting from scratch. You have an idea, or you just have a desire, and you need an idea to fit that lifestyle desire. But point is, don't go so big. Generally, again, it's not. If you want to buy a restaurant or get a franchise, obviously that's not an option. You're talking about a different ballgame. But even in there's generally options to take it in different phases. Ultimately, if you're both together, mm-hmm. That's a decision that you have to make. Are you going to take out a home equity loan to start a business? We know statistically most businesses start with $1,000 or less. Again, you got to look at what you are doing, but get counsel on it and get counsel together. Now, we do have a couple questions from members that I wanted to go over.
Are we getting any feedback? Are we actually on the screen and sound is okay?
Yeah, you guys, I'm having a hard time keeping up with chat boxes because I've got one screen to look at here. So if you've got something, members, I've got the member chat box open, or you guys who are members and non in the other chat box, if you, let me reload that and make sure that we are good and live here. Hold on just a moment. While I do that, actually, no, I wasn't getting the updates. Hey guys, sorry. Okay, I don't see any specific questions there. I'm going to jump over because we did have a couple questions from our members.
Do you want to reload that page? Make sure we're getting that.
Okay, hold on a second, guys. No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Their members are talking amongst themselves.
Okay.
During class. It's like playing hooky, passing notes around, but that's okay here. So, hey, a couple questions that'll bring up some other topics. This is from Eric. He says, question for the class. Though the topic is getting one's spouse on board, on the alternate end, and I'd love to hear from both of you, Kevin and Teri, how does the entrepreneur both strive toward developing and growing the business, which often takes a mountain of time and energy, and at the same time make sure that the budding business does not become the other woman or the other man in the spouse's life from whom he or she has to compete for time and attention? Theoretical discussion is okay, however, I'd love to know practical steps the entrepreneur should take.
You know what I think? We learned, okay, I'll jump in with personal experience.
Yep.
We spent probably 10 or 12 years under this perception that family and marriage should always be number one and work is number two, that work and provision always has to come secondary. And I think Kevin in particular was kind of rebelling from this workaholic kind of attitude. And so Kevin would, all the time, it took me years, you look back on it and you recognize it, that all the time our answering machine would be like, hi, you've reached the Millers, we're outside playing, or we're off playing somewhere. Kevin was very, very focused on, we're going to play, we're going to be in family, we're going to be in our marriage. And this is what we learned after years and years and years. Sometimes the most important thing you can do for your family or your marriage is provide. Get that work done.
Show me the money.
Show me the money. I said that many times, and I was not joking. I mean, I was very serious, and I would say,
go get a job at Taco Bell.
That was my phrase. So I think that's important to recognize and to know that sometimes there are seasons where the best thing you can do for your marriage and your family is to work hard to provide, to make sacrifices to provide. Number one. Number two, put a time frame on it. That's what I would say. Put a doable time frame on it, even if you have to make like groupings of time. Like, okay, I'm going to work really hard for 4 weeks, and then we're going to take a breather for a couple of weeks. This is a part of that, like making a plan to give your spouse something to tangibly be able to look towards. That, okay, so we've done this in recent years. Okay, the first example is when we were building our house, that we were looking at about 9 months of when it was going to be the end of building the house. And Kevin was incredibly torn. The kids can't handle it. I can't be away that much. And ultimately what I had to say was, the best thing you can do for all of us is get out of here. Don't be home. Go be someplace different, because he was staying at the work site where we were building the house. Yeah. Go be out there and provide for us. Build our house. Work your business. Take care of us. And that is the best way that you can be present for us. Because Kevin had this idea of, no, I have to be present. And then he was driving so much and it just didn't work. But there was a time frame. We knew that it was going to be 9 months of extreme sacrifice, extreme hard work. And then in more current years, we've had times where, Kevin's like, building the new website or whatever. And so we'll say, okay, we're in agreement. The best way you can be present for our family is to go. Just go, and he has this cabin that he works at that he loves and inspires him. And I'll say, just go and stay at the cabin for 2 weeks, whatever. Be gone. But we put a time frame on it. It's not this ephemeral, like, I'm going to lose you for the next 3 years if you build this business. It's okay. You're going to really work your balls off for 2 weeks, and then we're going to take a breather, and you're going to come to the kids' programs, and we're going to be connected again.
This is a family-friendly show here, Sweet Pea.
Oh, what did I say?
You're talking about balls and stuff.
Oh, sorry.
It's so embarrassing.
Bowling balls.
Yeah. Well, and she's talking about the support. I mean, how can you imagine that? I think some people can't imagine the spouse being that supportive, say, no, go do that work, and having that support is what we're talking about. But yeah, having a time frame is great, because Eric, I mean, your question, that's what a lot of people, because they've seen a bad example of somebody who work is overwhelming their lives, and it's like a mistress. However, and this is something that You know what? Honestly, I think it's something I heard my dad say once. He said generally that kind of person is going to be that kind of person anyways. If they have a corporate job, they're going to be the ones putting in workaholic, putting in that time there. So being self-employed is not really anything different. Sometimes you have those people, you go after self-employment, and it does become a mistress. But again, that's what they would be doing anyway.
Yeah, that's a marital counseling problem.
That's a personal issue. Now, for most people, what we end up talking about though is having boundaries, and Teri's talked about that as well. That sometimes get that out of your head and just be with us, especially if you're working at home and you can get addicted. Even more so these days with smartphones. So now you got email in your pocket, and you can't. And so I think we've been doing it for so long though, that it's become pretty habitual. And most nights I do not work. I may check on something before I go to bed, but we have clearer boundaries. Right now I'm not working out of the house, and we seem to go through cycles, and I'm not working from home, and that helps as well. And a lot of times I come home, put my backpack down, and I don't get my computer out of it. Next morning I take it and I go work at my office. But having some boundaries, some clear-cut boundaries.
Even if it's just little things like during dinner time. I mean, I think about this, we take it for granted, but this is just something you've always done. I mean, even if our home phone rings, our little ones will sometimes jump up, I want to get the phone, and Kevin's like, don't answer it. But this is dinner. We're having our dinner hour. And because we're sitting and we're talking with the big kids, and we're catching up on days, and, laughing at the little ones, and having family time. And so that's a boundary. So there's no cell phone. There's no computer. There's nothing out during that dinner hour, so that's time for connection, so that you're not distracted by work or by media or whatever. And Kevin won't even answer the home phone during that time, which, our families know they'll have to call 2 or 3 times in a row to get through.
Well, and a piece of that too, where you get that perspective of somebody starts a business and all of a sudden it's just their life is consumed by it. Often it's not so much because, and I think what gets blamed is, that comes with the territory of having your own business. Mm-hmm. Often that's not the case. The reason that they are so consumed is because it is a mistress. It's enticing.
They want to be distracted from their family.
They're excited, especially if they've been putting their nose to the grindstone at the 9-to-5 job for so many years, and now they've got something that they care about, and it's theirs, and they're getting to be their own boss, and they've got time flexibility that they put all into their work, and they're just on fire. And a year later, it's just 100%, and they can't stay away from their cell phone. That's like an addiction, and that I understand too. There's a lot of times that I'm thinking about a promotion or a sale or just something I want to. I wake up in the morning and Teri's wanting to sleep in. Oh, it's Saturday, and I've got an idea in my head, and I'm going to do it. That's not the business's fault. That's me, and so I have to curtail not only the duty of work, but the excitement of work. And when you go after something you care about, that can be the culprit a lot of the time.
Or the distraction of work.
Yeah.
That's the other piece of it. I think that there's sometimes, we hear the non-breadwinner spouse saying, this self-employment thing is like you said, is the mistress. It's taking all the energy and all the focus. And I think sometimes when that happens, what if the problem is because that's a welcome distraction? What if the non-breadwinner spouse, what if the issue is a marital issue because that spouse is griping all the time? What if you sit at the dinner table and the kids are terrible, I'm exhausted. Ugh. What if you're just whining and be real, have intimacy, but then there's also something relationally about if you are such a downer, your spouse is going to want the distraction of that work being a mistress. If your kids are horrific, out of control brats, your spouse is going to want the distraction of that. And so there's some of that this is not about self-employment. This is about life management. And if that's going on, you can't blame self-employment. That's your life.
Well, absolutely. No. It's a great point, because what we are talking about, the self-employment, is something that's going to make life more raw. No different than if you take a cross-country trip. If you go to an international trip with your family, all of a sudden, it's a lot of work, or a move that you would have to do for work if you got transplanted somewhere else through a traditional employment, or any big thing is going to exacerbate life, or as Teri always said, it's going to exacerbate what's already there. Generally, self-employment or going after some kind of a change is going to do that. If you decide to go get an extra degree, go to an MBA, I wish you wouldn't do that. But, to get a job advancement or something like that, and all of a sudden you're going to put this extra load on your time, that's going to
do the
stress
same.
your family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not being mean or being, cutting you off or like, well, that's your problem. Because, hello, we've been there. We've totally been there. I mean, really, really bad, really duking it out. But the problem wasn't, Kevin has said so many times, the problem is not self-employment. The problem is here. Whatever would be stressing our marriage, that would be stressing our marriage. Yeah. And so don't blame it on self-employment if the problem is here.
That's good. Well, hey, this is not necessarily a question, but it's just kind of inspiring in and of itself. Wendy says, you know how much you totally rock, right? My goodness, you both have been such an amazing blessing in my life. And her husband, I'm trying to stay anonymous since we've got this open to the public. Her husband always says, what does FAA think about this? That's so great. So I can't wait till he can meet you both.
And they're coming through Colorado this summer when we're at the children's home, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for the first time ever, my husband and I will be free agenting it. We will be completely relying on the Lord to bring the people He wants us to serve. I have never seen Walter so alive.
My husband's so alive.
And me too. I think it could be the one thing that will unite us, like I have been dreaming about for years. So excited! I can't wait to reveal all that may be happening soon. This is, folks. I will mention somebody because I mentioned them last week. Jody and Steve Berkey. We're Free Agent Academy members. He's a physical therapist and an endurance junkie. And last week we talked about their website, which is 90revolutions.com. The number 90revolutions.com, which is a cycling term. So he's a physical therapist. They are on a free agent journey together as a family. They have, I think, one little kid, and they are on a journey together. And it's, talk about inspiring. We're Chris and Nicole Van Ruler. I don't think you even know this, and I keep meaning to blog about it. They're getting ready for their, I think June is the grand opening of their pet store in Steamboat, Colorado, and they're doing this together. Just had their first child as well, and talk about a bonding, excitement, and adventure that we're seeing bring people together. Yeah, we can see some incredible uniting through self-employment, which again is just a vehicle for going after those cares and convictions and health that you want in your life. But we're trying to talk to those who are, again, a lot of those who are doing it on their own on what to look out for. So Laura, a member, Laura, whose husband just joined as a new member this morning.
Oh, wow.
My husband and I are just getting started on the free agent path. He has always touted the benefits of what he believes are attributable to being a business owner, but this is the first time we are trying to make it a reality for us. I know the process is not easy and all smiles and laughter all the time. Yeah. There will be hard times, mistakes made, and disappointments along the way. Right, as there is with any journey of value. I'd like to hear from others whom have forged that path before. What was some of the hardest times, and how did you make it through and still keep your relationship strong? Then what was some of the best times that made the journey worth the effort? Great question, and it brings up something that I had wanted to mention as well. And this comes back to what you said about my perspective on family first. I'm not going to sacrifice family. I'm not going to sacrifice family. And I did that to our detriment, and then
to our sacrifice.
Well, yeah, and then we did the 9 months of building the house. So I have a business, and this was after Free Agent Academy had launched. So I have a fledgling business. I have a house that we're building, which is way more than we could afford. Huge effort. And 9 months, I stayed away from the family, 100%.
And what was the other stressor in that 9 months?
Oh, we were always having a kid.
I had a baby 2 weeks after we moved into the house.
Yes.
In the house.
So we start building the house and got pregnant as well, which I just don't. I'll ask God why someday. He planned it that way. So talk about stress. 9 months I was away from the home for 4 nights a week.
No, I thought it was Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday. I mean, we see each other. We're still in the same vicinity. But I stayed away 9 months. And then like the timeline though, it ended. And we moved in. We moved in to the new home. Just, or you've got a business that made enough money, for the month, this month, whatever. And it happened, and we moved in, and boom, It was like we never skipped a beat. The kids were so resilient. It blew me away.
That surprised you.
It surprised me.
Yeah, Kevin was like, the kids are going to be so damaged. The little ones won't know me anymore.
Well, and it gave us insight into the value
resilient.
of like what you said, those focused times. And so Teri's real quick. I remember the first time I took a 3 or 4 day time to go away and said, I just need to work and focus and get all the time that I put into family into work. And you said, that's fine. And just afterwards, can we just have you for a couple days? Like, give us a payoff. Oh, gosh, sure. I'll take 3 days of 100% of work and then 2 days of family. And she said, well, hey, that's cool. It's great. Really? And we've made that something that we've consistently done. Okay, that was a rabbit trail off of...
It's not a rabbit trail, though. So addresses her question.
That's just what I said. It's perfect. It's a perfect piece of it. Another perfect piece of it is that along with that perspective that I had on family having to be first, and this gets into a spiritual aspect, folks. Back with another business endeavor that we were doing that had a very evangelistic outlet to it as well, where we were influencing people for Christ in a very real and specific way. And I had the perspective that I'm working my butt off. We are doing good. We are being good Christian soldiers and all this.
Yeah.
We're doing good. I don't know how the finances are going to come together this week or this month. God will bless this. And He'll put the pieces together and He'll make it work. And I did it on my own without counsel. I did a lot of bad wisdom. I did not pursue good business wisdom, good business sense, and a lot of things. And my perspective, my errant theology was God will put it together. God will, create a miracle, part the sea, burning bush, the things that happened a couple times. And yet we have an entire book, entire Bible, but even Proverbs. It's seek wisdom, seek wisdom, seek wisdom. And it didn't come together. It didn't. And I had to face that after we had to give everything up a decade ago and walk away from it. I had to look and go, obviously my theology is bad because it's not happening. And I look back now and was God in it? Of course He was. He was there. He was hoping that I would ask for help from His people and get wisdom. And did He make incredible things happen amidst it? Oh my gosh, absolutely. But it did not pan out when I paid everybody but us. And it didn't. He calls us to wisdom. I needed to go and say, help me run the numbers. How do I make this thing work at the end of the month so that we can pay ourselves? And I didn't. I let that go and said, we're doing a good work. And folks, I hear so many people, my fellow brethren, and guys are the worst at it, who are saying, I'm going to go after this thing. It's something that God has put on my heart and God has called me to, which He very well may have done. And they do it, and they have such highfalutin expectations that I look at it and I can see it 100 miles away. And I'm really reticent to go, there's no way in hell that's going to work out, because they think, they're holding on to the miracles, and it could happen. Could God make it happen, even though it's really, really bad wisdom? Possible. He can do amazing things. Generally, He works in He created a natural world. And there's natural causes and effects, and you're not going to escape good, sound business, wisdom, and counsel. Generally, again, can you have incredible things happen where God meets you along the way and puts pieces, helps things function? Well, sure, we see that. But today we also just look at what are the raw numbers, and at some point, this is what that is in the bank account. This is the mortgage. This is when it's due. Something that it's still an issue. For me, I think a miracle is going to happen. I want the miracle to happen. Sometimes it does. We've had a zillion of them happen. But watch your theology in this. Okay. So that was, in Laura asking, what are some of the best? What are some of the worst? I mean, those hardest times. I mean, hardest time. We've talked about them. I mean, I took out. I told you about the credit cards already. I also did a $50,000 line of credit on business loan on somebody else's collateral. It's stupid. I mean, ridiculous that we.
It is all paid off
by a miracle in some ways of God, or His blessing on our hard work.
His wife's diligence.
My wife's diligence. Yes, it is. But, I mean, some of the worst, it was that. And again, without going into our whole story, I mean, at the end of 2002, and I had a business that didn't work at all. that we lost a bunch of money. I partnered in another business where I was trying to get a guy to invest in my little business. And instead, he talked me into partnering with him in a similar business. And it actually worked. It actually made money, not a lot, but it was a startup, and it made money. It worked. I quit. I was unequally yoked. I should have never gone after it, but I did because I was in dire straits. And I then got involved with something that fit my heart, and I went after it, and I quit. And I probably should not have quit. I probably should have stuck with it till we had some margin. And we went after another business endeavor and went way too big, way too fast.
And if you're lost already, no worries. We are too. So
paid everybody but us. Anyway, so what was the worst of it? It was being in debt, having zero income. We had a year. It's on our tax. It's on our historical tax. We had a year. My income was zero because I think it was negative. And at the end of 2002, somewhere around there, Teri said, "I'm done. I'm done." That was the worst of it.
I said, I can care for our family better on my own without all this debt and all this mess and all these pipe dreams. I can just go get a practical job, and I can care for the kids, and I can go live with family in Texas, and it was never like, I'm going to leave you. It was just, I'm here for you whenever, we can provide for our family. But
now again, is that a self-employment thing, or is that a Kevin thing? That was a me thing, but it was part of our story. It's part of our journey and part of our learning what doesn't work and what needs to be righted for unity. Again, that's our point here. It's unity in a journey. I could have called it that. Now, self-employment is the focus here, but it's unity together.
So I think addressing her question.
Well, the worst of it then is we quit everything. I walked away. We walked away from it.
That was the best step. That wasn't the worst.
That's exactly what I said. The worst was right before that step. Okay, so keep going.
So I would just say the worst of it, that there's something about the worst of it that is the total lack of security. And maybe that's, from the non-breadwinner spouse's perspective. But it's this place of there's no income, so there was no little side job that was just enough to pay the mortgage, just enough to pay the bills. There was no side job. There was no savings. There was no security, nothing whatsoever. And so I think that's the worst of it. I mean, obviously, that's the dangerous ground. I think the dangerous place is to just jump in, and that's the temptation a lot of times in self-employment. People are like, just do it, just go for it, jump in, and that, I don't think so. I don't think that's best. I mean, I think that God calls us to take great risks and have a leap of faith, but I think God also, He has our backs. And He didn't say, Noah, build the ark. Oh my gosh, hurry up, build the ark next week. He built the ark in like a year. God provided the wood. And I mean, He got the crazy stuff, everybody thinking He's crazy and all that. But still there was provision along the way. There was something in it that was functional. And I think that we live in this microwave society where things become not functional because we think we have to just jump in and it's just going to happen. And it's not reality. It's not going to be that way. Generally. There's always miracle stories. Sure.
Always exception. And we've talked with people who have gone after something and they've got 2 years of income saved up. That's big. I have people who say, gosh, I got a severance opportunity where they'll pay me for 6 months. And, what should I do it now? I mean, again, it's counting the costs. It was a big part of our journey, too, counting the costs. So, again, we can't, give a broad brush for everybody, a broad brush statement, because we don't know your circumstances, which is why getting counsel is so key. But, yeah, for most folks, very few times does it make sense to jump hook, line, and sinker, and especially as I did when there was no cushion, no margin, no nothing. Now, I'm not a fan of having a fallback plan. I want 100% commitment and go, and I love pressure, but you can also do that with a couple saving graces.
And just savings. I mean, that is a turn that we have made very, very recently. Very recently, we have just created a new system of income where it's a little more consistent. And with that consistency, I now am slipping a little bit every single month into several savings accounts. And so I have savings accounts set up that give me security and peace. As the non-breadwinner spouse, I now have a savings account that's for home maintenance, and a little savings account that's for car repairs, and a travel savings account. And so that over 4 or 6 months, I was putting money into this travel savings account, and we got to do this trip, and we got to fly free on our flight miles where I put groceries on a credit card. And, but there's different things like that you can do for the non-breadwinner spouse that may be nervous of self-employment that can give security. And those seem like little things, but they are big things. And sometimes that's the key, like James's question.
Well, and for us too, talking about, again, back to Laura's thing, what was the worst of it? I mean, some of this is changed because we became debt-free last year.
Yeah, a year and a half ago, almost 2 years. Fall it'll be 2 years.
After digging out of about $100,000 of business debt, and so there was never anything to spare, and I never seemed to pick the easiest business models, and so there's a long story there.
Yeah. The best things to answer her question. I mean, the payoff.
And then I see you guys in the chat. I see some questions we missed, so we'll get there.
I just think to constantly remind yourself of what are the best things for you, because it's going to be different for everybody. Yeah. And the worst things are going to be different for everybody, because we function out of our own woundedness. We function out of our own hurts and our own backgrounds. And so to say, oh, well, this is the worst one for everybody, it's different for everyone. And for me, I needed security. And so that was the worst, that, jumping in feet first, with no security. But for someone else, that may not be what their very worst was. Maybe their worst was the absence of the spouse, that thing of, now this work is like a mistress. And so you have to identify, what is your very worst thing that's just really, really hard, and how are you going to address that? And then also to constantly talk about, what are the payoffs? What are the best things? And it's that Kevin was present when Serene broke her arm, that I was able to say, we got to go to the ER. And, 6 weeks later, we got to go to the ER again. That he was present. He wasn't down at a job in the Springs in a cubicle. And that it's things like this that we could plan this, whatever it was, 4 or 6 months ago, and have this amazing trip that we're here in Florida that is like a dream to me. And that we got to take off. Okay, here's another payoff. I sent you an email on a Friday and said, will you go away with me on Sunday, April 28th of our anniversary? I planned it. I got some social living deal. Got a real bargain at a place we love. Sorry, living social deal. I should call it a moolah special. But I got a great deal, and I sent him an email on Friday and said, will you go away with me? Can we go Sunday night, and will you be able to take off Monday and Tuesday? And he didn't have to call into a boss or get vacation days. And so that's a payoff that's important to us. But you're going to have a payoff in the best thing that you just love about it that's important to you, and you have to explore that.
We spent a month working out together in the mornings, and I generally don't start work till 10. That's when I generally, things like that are important to us. And the other thing that for us is we just have to assume what it would be like if I was working somewhere at something that I was not jazzed about, that I was not able to be creative in. Who would I be?
He's moody enough as it is. If he was crabby about work, it would really be bad.
I'd be the biggest SOB ever.
Ever.
Jason Smith, I just wanted to point out, because I appreciate what you said, Jason. I think this is great advice for us singles as well, keeping this in mind for if our marital status changes. Should help lessen the strain. Now, Guy, man, thanks for posting this. He says, Guy Madison, who's a free agent as well, been listening since the beginning of the show. You and Teri are great. Thank you. This is extremely valuable to hear from her perspective. I plan on having my wife, who is totally behind what I'm doing, listen to this. She will really appreciate hearing from another wife's perspective on having a husband that insists on being self-employed. Appreciate
having a crazy blank.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Guy, very much. And Guy puts out some great stuff. Guy, are you still I don't know if you're still. Oh yeah, you are still there.
Yeah,
Put your website in the chat box if you would. And Jonathan,
James.
Jonathan Milligan, who is a member, and matter of fact, Jonathan and I will be doing the show together next week. So Jonathan Milligan, who's with us, and he is a blogging expert, and we will be talking about him, what he does, and be a great resource for a lot of you guys. So we'll be talking next week. And he said, is this going to be a podcast episode or a replay link in the members area? My wife would love to hear this chat. Yes, yeah, I'll post it after we're done here. James, so he says, Teri, what would you say to a reluctant spouse who wants to encourage their partner but is simply scared of the concept of self-employment and the loss of the security of a job?
Okay. I totally think that this is one of those issues, again, of what's the area of wounding? What are you working from? What is your spouse working from? We can't just put some umbrella covering over it and say, this is going to work for all couples. This is going to work for spouses of people that are self-employed. I think you have to dig into what are the issues. And so if you're the breadwinner husband and you're married to a wife who is extremely concerned about that security issue, concerned about that, you just need a secure job. I just can't handle you quitting it and going for self-employment. I think there's deeper issues at hand. It is not about self-employment. It is about, honey, what's going on? What's underneath that? What's underneath the fear? And then to dig into that and to have comfort for that underlying fear and to have empathy for that underlying fear. And maybe it's that wife grew up really poor or that wife grew up really rich. I mean, it can just mean so many different things, but I think you can't just look at the surface. You have to dig down and find out what's really going on underneath it that's causing that. Address the underneath thing and then say, so what I'm hearing is that you always had money, daddy always provided, and you're terrified of not having that. So what if we could create a savings account or you could have your own checking or, so that you could begin to do some things to provide security for that spouse. Or if it's, I hear that, your dad left you when you were 5 and mom was always working and you never had enough and you had to beg for bread, whatever, so that you address those things.
Well, yes. And
Does that make sense?
No, totally. And on the flip side, where if you are desiring, financial security, which is important, but you've also always cared for my heart in that. I mean, you want both, but you have withstand a lot of financial issues because you care about me and what you see me called to, and you see my impact on people and things, and you care about me.
Yeah.
Joseph says, Kevin and Teri, what was your experience with support outside your household? Was it just you and Teri, or did you have support of extended family, friends, church, etc.?
Not financial support. I mean, you have had help a couple of times.
Well, I assume...
And that is very precious.
Oh, Joseph, I assume you're talking about just support and encouragement emotionally and from friends. Not financial support?
I thought you were saying financial support. Financial support.
No.
Unfortunately, neither one of us has rich relatives.
Well, yeah. Yeah, well, and especially during the
grandparents have died and we inherited nothing.
I come from a free agent father as well, who it's really been past recent years that he has become more affluent, but it wasn't that way early on.
Yeah.
And so on that, he says emotional support, watching the kids, etc. No, I mean, obviously.
I mean, we've always had small groups. We've always since we were first married, tight groups of friends. I mean, that was ultimately one of the reasons why our marriage did not crash and burn is because of Leslie Freeman. She sat me down and made me read scripture out loud and was like, you will be an idiot.
This was after Teri's I'm done.
Yeah.
Thing. Well,
that kind of support, that was vital.
But did we have support? I mean, a lot of people know my parents. I mean, my dad preaches this same stuff as well. So being self-employed, that's all I knew. So did I have their support and encouragement? I mean, yeah, I didn't have the lack. It was just expected. They knew, just like they knew that I would never make it a day in college, they didn't expect me to ever be employed, I don't think.
As opposed to my parents who thought I was marrying a complete idiot because he didn't have a college degree or a real job. But,
jury's still out on that, but, we've made it this far.
No, they think he's great.
And so, from friends and, we did. And I understand the question, though, because I know a lot of people battle a lack of, criticism of people. What the heck are you doing leaving your job? Now, obviously, I never was really in that position for people to go, gosh, this is who I've always been, what I've always done. So, but I understand the question because a lot of people, it's huge when family doesn't support you, when friends and family don't support you. And there's some piece there where you've got to, honor them, but be your own person, and you may have to separate. You need to find people who do encourage you.
Yeah. At least just groups of friends.
Yeah.
Which we have always had.
Oh, my gosh. The friends that we have today who are all free agents. At this point. The only one we did who had a real job just quit it.
Well, okay. Sort of, yeah. Okay.
Well, from the core.
Yeah.
So, we commiserate and get together, and having that is profound. If I can run you down the list of friends of mine, and this is their heart, is to find what you care about, to find what you're passionate about, to work at something that's building your own assets, and having that is huge. Now, do we have people who don't understand it when I talk to them about it? Sure, and I just don't talk about it any further. We talk about kids or family or something, and just don't talk about work. So it's not that everybody is just a Pollyanna supporter of what we choose to do, but I could say that about our diet, homeschooling, I don't know, the way we dress, and anything. And so that's a big deal to find that support
and cultivate it. I think people too think, oh, you're just going to find it. You're just going to fall into it. No, it takes sacrifice. Early on in our marriage, Kevin had this thing where he was like, whatever, those people aren't that fun. If friends aren't bonus, why bother? And then over time, we're like, no. Over time, we realize that doesn't work. Sometimes friends aren't bonus. Sometimes we have to sacrifice and work and invest to create over the long haul time and walking together, and you serve this couple during their time of need, and then they are there for you during your time of need. And it takes sacrifice and hard work. But yes, I think that support has been a big part of, maybe not the success of your business, your free agency, but a big part of the success of us, and is what has kept us afloat. Is that support network of friends, like-minded friends who are committed to their marriages, committed to an out-of-the-box lifestyle, maybe, like-minded in that sense. Yeah. So we've always had that. We've worked at it.
Yeah. Well, and so much, obviously, you're hearing this, is caring about each other, which we have both not done in varying degrees in the past. And, what's the best of it? Laura, when you asked that, it's having Teri's support for my heart, one, and then as she talked about, even in the past 6 months, we've come a long way around of looking at your visions separate from mine, because I just assumed, and this is probably more of a guy thing, that we have a shared vision. It's mine. And I just didn't, that's just what I knew. And so, you can hear her, there's some things that she's investing in. You talked about payoff too. How many trips have you gone on this year alone? From Eliza, 4-day trip in Breckenridge for her birthday, and I'm home with the kids, to you going for a week to the Navajo, Manuelito Navajo Children's Home.
I took the teenage girls on a retreat for a week.
Yeah. And so I was home for a week. I didn't go to the office. I was home.
Huge payoff.
For a week.
Because I was able to pursue my vision.
Yeah.
My passions, my calling.
Yeah, and you did another one. There's another trip.
I did Eliza's little bitty field trip.
No, there's another longer trip.
A couple of days.
Anyways, those are big payoffs. But me seeing her come alive in her pursuit, where she feels called to different things, and now we're looking at a business model for her, is...
Well, I've done mommy sabbaticals over the last couple of years. where I would be gone for 4 to 5 days, and Kevin holds everything down. And that mommy sabbatical concept is what now is, it's a part of my calling and my passion and what I want to offer to other young moms. And so now that's growing into something, and it's because we had the payoff of Kevin having that availability.
Yeah.
And so I can gripe and complain different evenings where he's working late and, oh, it's like your mistress. But then that is the thing. You have to then constantly remind yourselves and be in conversation about it. You can't just say I love you once and think that's going to hold. You can't just say, oh, yeah, I got to do that. No, you constantly have to be reminding yourselves, this is the payoff. I got to have mommy sabbaticals like once a quarter. I got to take a long time off and be all by myself and dig in and learn about things that now God is calling me to offer to other women. And now I'm going to be able to launch that into my free agent business.
And I'll have to give credit. And this is last call. We're over an hour now. Yeah. So last call, if you guys have any questions, those of you who are with the live audience, and thanks for being there between the public site here at freeagentacademy.com and our members. I think we've got 25 folks or so with us. Actually, I need to get back over here to the members chat box. But thank you guys for being here and for all the great comments. I so appreciate it. What was my train of thought here?
You were going to say that mommy sabbatical idea goes to...
Yes. I wanted to give credit to...
Jennifer.
Nope, but that too. That's a good idea.
Jennifer Poole?
Okay, well, two people.
The phrase
talk, you know what? In Joseph, you talking about supportive people and kindred spirits.
Mm-hmm.
The value of having other free agents in our life and people pursuing their hearts and their callings and doing it vocationally and ministry-wise is huge. So here's something that Teri feels like is a calling, a role that engages a lot of her calling. And it came from two people that, interestingly enough, are attached to professors here at Free Agent Academy. Jonathan Poole, who's our professor of IDEA, his wife Jennifer she's the one that told Teri.
She's a soul sister friend.
About mommy sabbatical. You need to go on a mommy sabbatical. You need to get away and get a break from being a kid. That has become such a part of our life.
Get a break from being with the kids. Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
Right. And me being it's a wife sabbatical too. She's on her own. She goes away you've gone away for 3 days, 5 days.
Yeah.
And she's going to pursue that as a ministry to other women. But so the idea came from Jennifer. Came from people. Jonathan and Jennifer have spent I don't know how many nights at our home. They got married at our house. Up in the mountains and are a part of our life now. That was one. The second one, though, is Gary Barkalow, our professor.
And Lee Barkalow, yes. The Sheer Beauty Retreat was amazing.
Well, let me tell him what it is. Gary is our professor of calling. His business is The Noble Heart. And then his wife, Lee, leads these Sheer Beauty Retreats, which is calling focused, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, I think, Spirit works and however you need to receive it.
Well, if you go to thenobleheart.com, you'll see information about Gary and Lee and see about where her next Sheer Beauty Retreat is. So Teri went to that, and it was...
Got to go at the last minute. It was...
It
was amazing.
I don't know if it was... But it was that event or was coming out of that things came into alignment of you feeling like this is what I need to do for women.
During that event is when I suddenly had clarity that's been building for a couple of years, finally had clarity of this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a mommy sabbatical retreat. I'm going to offer so much of the gifts that God has given to me, being able to have this time. I want to offer that to young moms.
Yeah.
So it was during that retreat. It was an amazing retreat. And you're right. Having that support, pursuing opportunities to have that support and be in that kind of environment that's going to grow those things in you, that's very important. Like taking vitamins or drinking your water or getting exercise.
We don't really know anything different in that because we have pursued kindred spirits, I guess, and God's been gracious. And I can't imagine not having it.
Yeah. We're at an hour 15.
We are. Okay, last question, and I'll just hit on real briefly because you guys ask about healthcare costs for self-employment. I mean, that's
Except he wrote, that might be a topic for another call.
I think it is. Honestly, I mean, we have
much.
more and more companies who are not even providing health care. I mean, you pay for your health care regardless. You're either going to pay it out of, you would say out of pocket, or you're going to pay it through your job. I mean, they have that as part of your salary. So when you look at your salary, this is how much I make. I make $60,000 a year. No, you really make a lot more than that the company spends on you. They spend money on your office space. They spend money on your health care. I mean, all that money, you're making it and they're taking it out. That's encompassed in that. So when you look at, this is what I need to make to go into my own business, you need to just understand that you're already making that much. Yeah. It's just being paid for you. It's being taken out just like taxes are. It's already being done. So generally, if I'm going to throw one thing out at you, is people using HSA accounts.
Exactly what I was going to say, health savings account.
Yeah. If you
have a huge deductible.
Mm-hmm. What's it called?
We set it up with Humana One at one point and then had a health savings account. But there's a ton of different companies, so that's a point of another call.
Yeah, but what's it called? When you have the huge deductible, you have it's like horrific insurance.
Horrific insurance.
No, come on, what's the word, guys?
The word.
It's
that kind of insurance.
Hellacious catastrophic. There you go.
Something like
that. Is that it?
I don't know. When your deductibles are really
big
high.
Ass deductible insurance. Where
nice.
It's going to be $10,000, which is a real motivation to give.
This is a total scam. Somebody just put a strange thing.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh,
okay.
Maybe they're being funny. Yeah, we are. It's a scam. It's a great reason to get with somebody like Lauren Phelps, who's with us, and be healthy, so you don't have to use the healthcare industry a lot. But you get something for the big stuff. There's still another word for it. I can't remember what it is. We should talk about
that.
That
should be another call.
All
we
right.
gotta go.
Hey guys,
we're way past time.
We are, and it's time for dinner.
Yeah.
Here. Hey, thank you guys. Hey, Lauren, thank you for being with us. Lauren's a Beachbody coach. Which we've
No way!
Yeah, Lauren is. Yes, she's been
man.
talking to me about it. Lauren is.
We did Beachbody workout today.
We did it today. We're sitting here in this condo trying to do it, and we can't do our jumps high enough because the ceiling's low. So we got to do like jumping. What are they called? Those jumping jacks?
The triangle. What are they? The triangle ones. I can't remember.
Hey, hang out here for a second. I'm gonna stop. I'll tell you, Lauren. Hey, hold on. I'm gonna stop the recording. So hey, those of you, thanks for everybody for tuning in. Hang out with me if you want to. We'll stay online here just for a second. But for the recording that I'm gonna put to the podcast, which is now at 1:15, I'm gonna stop it. So thanks for tuning in. I don't have any outro music for you today. So freeagentacademy.com. I appreciate everybody being here. I hope
Thanks
this was
of
value to you and your marriages. Take care. Okay, there's the recording. We're dead there. Lauren, so Lauren is a Beachbody coach. We watched.
That's awesome.
Matter of fact, we're doing
diamond jumps. Yeah, she wrote it.
That's it.
Yeah, we had to do our diamond jumps like this.
Whee! Yeah, it was like baby diamond jumps.
Because the ceiling's too low.
We're on a tile floor, and I sweat so much on it here because it's so stinking hot that I start slipping and sliding.
What is it? Drill something level 3 drills or whatever, where you're up and then you're down.
I'm doing push-ups and my hands are sliding around. So I had a towel with me.
Gross. She writes, thanks, Lauren.
Yeah. Ray, you're the guy who said this is a scam. So we're doing Insanity. I never did P90X, but anyways, it's both Beachbody stuff. It's going well. This is the second week of the second month.
Okay.
The second week of the second month. So we'll finish this week and then have two weeks left. And
we should have a call sometime just with Lauren so I can get advice.
Oh, well, that's what she does.
Yeah. I need your help because my arms are getting too buff.
Yeah, we have 2 weeks. Yeah, you should.
My arms get too big, and so I end up modifying all the arm stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
We have 2 weeks left, and then I'm not sure what. But, ultimately, this has just sold me on the need for this type of exercise that I've never done. I've always done endurance, for primarily long, slow stuff, and then was doing weightlifting, and this explosive interval stuff and the stretching and what. It's incredible. And Teri, her biggest testimony to me is just that I've got a core. I've got abs and obliques and all that jazz, I guess.
Yeah, it's changing his physique. Lauren says, don't look at my arms then. Hey, buff arms are awesome. I'm just telling you, I tend to put on muscle really fast. So, whatever. In a separate call or something, I need to get advice because I'm having to do some modification because I feel like my arms are just getting too big too fast. I don't want to look like a man.
Well, you can ask her now. She's there.
Well, I know.
What? We're hanging out. Now we're hanging out. Show's over. Now it's scam time. You know, we can talk whatever.
So I don't know. My arms I'm getting too big too fast. Lauren says you won't look like a man. Well, so I end up modifying some of the, like Sean will have sections of just so much push-ups and stuff, and so I end up modifying and doing things like he'll have these oblique push-ups where you're side to side, and I'll just end up doing the oblique things where you lift your leg up, and I don't know, I mean, I think it's fine.
She does have, I mean, I think a lot of from carrying kids around, 7 children, whatever, and your arms are, I mean, I like it. But she doesn't want her arms getting bigger. So
because they're plenty buff already.
Yeah.
If you aren't using weights, they'll get bigger once you are toned. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just being careful. I'm modifying, some things because, I don't want to get my arms.
We'll talk to you, Lauren. So I have Lauren on Instagram, and she posts a lot about the diet and working out. So I'll show it to you.
Awesome.
So I'll hook you up. Eric, you're in your 5th round of P90X? Wow.
Oh, Lord.
Well, and so that's what I'm saying. I want to keep it as part. I don't know what I'll do exactly. We'll finish this.
Lay off the steroids, David wrote. David Creel, lay off the steroids.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I've lost, I think, some arm muscle and stuff doing Insanity.
Mm-hmm. Just some, like in here.
I think I've lost some there because it's not. I mean, they got a lot of push-ups and stuff, but it's mainly, man, it's just so much cardio. It's cool, though. We dig it. I mean, it's hard as crap, but... Yep. Asylum is what you'll do next? Okay, I don't know. Oh, I think you talked about that. Insanity Asylum. It's like the next one. If it's even harder, I might have a heart attack. At least trying to keep up with everything. Yeah.
Okay, let's go get dinner.
Okay, we're going to go get dinner. Hey, thank you guys for all being here. Still 17 folks. I appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with us, for the questions and comments. And it's just great hanging out. Feels like having a family gathering in the living room. So thanks. Okay, well, hey, we're going to go and have a vacation, I guess.
Yep.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks, guys, so much. Thank you. I'll catch up with everybody at some point. Yeah, Lauren, I'll talk to you on Instagram. So, hey, Eric, thanks.
Not for a couple of days. Thursday and Friday, he's just going to go hang out with me at the beach all day long.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Guy, thanks for being here.
Bye.
Eric, James, John, everybody. David, thanks for being here. Okay, have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye. I got to kill the video.